welcome. Last week I spent several mornings working on my polytunnel cover and putting a green net cover over it on top of its previous plastic cover. So today is the fourth day I am working on the cover of the polytunnel, and I'm going to do the framing around the doors and the side end at what I call the front of the polytunnel. The back is exactly the same, so I probably won't film that when I do it because it's exactly the same. And I'm not sure I'm going to do it today. I might do, we'll see how quickly I get on with this. When I built the original polytunnel, the plastic gets wrapped around the wooden door frame. So you put the door frames in and then you tension your plastic around that frame and secure it inside the polytunnel. In order to do that with my netting, I'm going to have to take the doors off, and I don't want to take the doors off, so I'm not going to. I've got myself, let me get some, oh, there we go. So left over from a previous project, not polytunnel related, I've got these thin pieces of tongue and groove. A little bit, I can show you closer. So with a tongue at one end and a groove at the other. It's pretty wall I can't say that. It's pretty wall panelling pieces. Now I'm not sure how well they'll stand up to fully outside weather, but I have already been using some of these strips of timber inside the polytunnel around the door frame just to make it look pretty, and that stood up over the years very well. I'm going to hammer this into the framework with galvanised nails. There we are. So I've got a reasonable head on this nail. I've chosen galvanised obviously because it's going to be outdoors and I don't want it rusting in the future. So my timber might rot, split, break and need replacing, but my nails will still be good. Can we see? No, we can't. Yes, here, oh, door's open. So because I've only netted to the waist height centre rail on the tunnel, again at the front and the back, I'm only going to bring my netting to this centre rail. And the centre rail from the door frame out to the edge of the tunnel is exactly the same as the centre rails all the way around my tunnel. I've got galvanised rails that have plastic stripping to clip the plastic covering, or in my case netting covering, into the framework. So it'll be exactly the same on these side rails as I was last week. Pull out the old plastic stripping and secure the netting into the slot. So let's get on with that. Just while I'm closing the door, it crossed my mind to mention, lose me balance. The instructions for constructing my polytunnel had the doors opening inwards, and I think that's pretty standard. But I decided at the time I didn't want them opening in, I want them opening out to give me my maximum inside space without having to leave swinging, arcing room for a door opening and shutting. So that's what I did. And the timber, the thin strips I'm about to put on now, the reason I chose to have such thin strips is so that it can go around the outside of the polytunnel frame. If I put it on the inside, I'll have to take my doors off to do that, and I don't want to. So I have just been measuring up and checking that with my thin strips of timber, once placed on the outside of the door frame, will still allow the doors to open and hinge outwards, and they do. They're narrow enough, it's not interfering with the swing of the door. I think the first thing I'll do is remove the white plastic stripping that's holding the original polytunnel cover in place. So exactly the same as last week, I'm using an old screwdriver to get into the end of that stripping and make a start. I'm just peeling it off.
fighting my way through the green netting to get in here and remove those white strips. I've done my best to cut out most of the boring bits, so we're not here too long today. We've seen this already lots of times last week. And if you haven't and you're interested, there are already 3 other videos on the channel where I have been putting this new cover on the polytunnel.
The plastic cover in the side stripping had already been cut, separating it from the top half of the tunnel to the bottom half of the tunnel. But the plastic going around the wooden door frame is wrapped around the frame and secured on the inside of the tunnel. So I'm just going to take my craft knife and cut that free. You can see here on the old plastic, it's all pleated to fit in around the curve at the end of the tunnel. I plan to be doing the same with the netting. That's this one all pulled free. Hello tunnel.
Using a standard craft knife and cutting the plastic free from the wooden door frame.
That's it. Hello Polytunnel, we're in. This is a big reason I want to do what I'm doing. Not only because of the heat in the middle of the summer, but to allow the rain to rain into the swimming pool, pond, water tank. Whoa! The wind's lifting the plastic. From this point on, we can safely say I'm just making it up as I go, because there is no plan, no instructions, and I don't really know what I'm doing, because I've never done this before, and I don't know anyone else that has. So I'm going to start with the top rail. First thing I'm going to do, actually quite scarily, is start by cutting into the netting, because it's too long over the door. Don't like cutting it, makes me nervous. Once it's cut, there's nothing I can do. That's it. Can't put it back now. Going up to the middle that way. Right. And then here, I'm going to take this across to the corner at an angle. So I plan to take my lengths of timber, which will be longer than this, and wrap the netting around them a couple of times, however much it needs, and then secure that onto the wooden door frame using my galvanised nails. The weakest point is going to be this top corner where it joins. So with my piece of wood, my hammer and a mouthful of nails, let's put the top piece on.
This was a fiddle and a wrestle and a wriggle it around and unwind it and do it again, but we got there in the end. Now to check both the ends to make sure we are lined up with the rest of the framework, and I can hammer a nail in a bit further.
Pretty confident that's going to stay in that position without moving. I haven't hammered my nails in completely. I've left myself a bit of space so I can take them out if I have to.
Now to do the same with both the side panels. This job is turning out to be a lot more fiddly than I was anticipating. I'm sure it's going to be worth it in the end though.
Been a real fiddle, but seems to be working eventually. Next I'm going to put the side plastics back in at this side and see how it all gets on. Give me a better idea of if I'm going about it the right way before I start tackling the other side. We're getting there, it'll be fine. At the moment, well, I don't think it won't happen. It's just being a bit more fiddly than I'd anticipated. So, side bits. And again, I'm not sure which end I want to start. The corner of the polytunnel or the door frame. I think the door frame, because that's the bit I'm trying to get nice and neat and squared off. Let's pull this back outside.
Just the same as last week, I've got 2 layers of plastic stripping to put in the groove of the aluminium side rails. One with a U shape and one that fills in the gap and gives us a nice, tidy, neat looking finish. Here you can see I'm pulling the netting down tight at the same time as hammering in those side strips. Now to put in the final piece and we'll soon be done.
Now for the really exciting bit, cutting off the excess netting. This bit might be a bit tricky because it's several layers of netting thick, because I wrapped it around this piece of wood. I might actually stuff some up under the wood as well actually, so I'll cut that a little bit long. Cut this bit longer so I can poke it up under my wood before I hammer it in. But there we have the first side done. I have to admit, doing the wooden battening on this side of the door frame was a real fiddle. The top was a fiddle too, but the side was the biggest fiddle. The plastic stripping went back in on the side, no problem at all, perfect. So that's this half done, and it's looking all right. So I have every confidence now to carry on and do the other half. We can open the door. And even with the battening, because it's so thin, I can still fully open my doors to the outside. Well, this green bit you can see here is a separate piece of netting that I usually have fixed in during the summer when I have the doors open. And still will. If I've got the doors open, I'll put the netting down. Keep the cabbage white butterflies out and birds and anything else that wants to go in there and eat my vegetables. Oh, pull the door too. There we go. There we go. Hello! So netting and loose plastic. Just what I wanted. Yay! And the door can stay open. No reason for that to be shut at the moment. Right, I'm going to crack on and do the other side. Don't need to film that. I think seeing one side's enough.
I did film it though, just in case the film footage of the first side wasn't any good. And to show that I really did do it, all by myself. Yay! Done! Lovely.
Well, there she is. Job done. Well, not quite. I've yet to go around and do exactly the same framing to the back of the polytunnel. I shan't be filming that because it's exactly the same as this. Now let's go indoors on this hot sunny afternoon and see if we can pull up that plastic. So here we are indoors. Now there are 2 main reasons I've chosen to do what I've done by covering the old polytunnel plastic with netting so I can curtain up the plastic is 1, to cool it down in the summer when it gets ridiculously hot in here, and I've kept the plastic on, so hopefully I can pull it back down again over the winter to create a bit of wind protection and a little bit more warmth in here, though it will be a lot more drafty than it used to be. And two, to let the rain in. And the most important place I want to get rain is here into the pond. Now I use the pond, which does have fish in it, to water the rest of the polytunnel. So if I can pull back the roof and let the rain in here, that's one less job to do. So let's see if I can pull it up far enough. Now we've untagged the ends, and next time it rains, the fish and the pond can have some fresh rainwater. Right, up we go.
This is the first time I've attempted to see if the system works. This is the first time I've been able to see if the system works. Now I've actually got the plastic unattached from the sides of the tunnel. Looking good. Things seem to be going well. Oh, there I am at the other side. That's the only problem, running back and forward with the ladder.
Tunnel, the plastic, to lie quite flat if I can, not all pleated up, because if it's all pleated up, when it does rain, it's going to catch in those pleats and drain off to somewhere I'd rather it wasn't. I want it in the pond.
I don't mind the inside being all pleated up, it's just the outside I want to try and keep as smooth as I can. I know, you're all waiting for me to fall in. It would certainly give us all a good laugh. I can swim, so it would be all right. I hope I don't, though.
Well, that's looking great so far. Just want to tidy up this little end piece here. It's hanging a bit funny. I'm hopeful that's going to work well. So at this angle you can see that I've managed to uncover the roof far enough that some of the rain will come directly into the pond, and any that lands on, where are we? There we go. Any that lands on this half of the roof is going to drain off of it into the pond, creating a nice bit of a waterfall for them. The fish love playing in splashy bubbles. So I'm looking forward to some rain now. That'll be wonderful. Those of you that have been watching my channel for quite a long time now, remember I had some big black sheets of ground cover weed suppressing fabric threaded across the top of the tunnel over the pond with the hoped intention of reducing the amount of green algae that grows in the water. I'm very happy about the algae that grows around the edges of the pond, and the fish are happy about that too because they get to eat it. But it's the actual green soup that the water becomes in midsummer makes it difficult to see the fish unless they're at the very top. Now the fish in my pond are koi carp, and they like stirring up the mud at the bottom, so that doesn't help either. Well, the black over the pond covering really didn't make a lot of difference. It gave me a nice bit of shade to sit in, but as to stopping the green in the pond, not really. So it was a worthwhile experiment because I've learnt from that experiment. And this netting rolled up curtain of plastic is exactly the same. An experiment. I really don't know how it's going to pan out over the long term. I may end up recovering the whole tunnel in a new sheet of plastic in a couple of years' time if this system isn't working for me. So that's it for today. I'm going to leave it there. Oh, with the perspiration dripping down my face. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time, hopefully for a bit of a look round the garden.
If you've enjoyed today's video, click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube can make sure you see my next video. Bye for now and thanks for watching.